All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to Advisory. Hope everybody is doing well. One of the things whenever I talk to students and whenever I've surveyed students in the past that they have said is the hardest thing is really just getting things done, completing assignments. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some tips over how to complete assignments, and I want you to think about these things moving forward. It's all about getting better every time. But these are the steps that I would recommend taking in getting things done, doing them well, and getting them turned in on time. Number one is understand the assignment.
I understood the assignment.
Of course, this is the first step. You got to know what you're doing. But if you get an assignment and it is put in front of you and you're already stressed because you don't know what it's really asking you to do, or you didn't understand the lesson as it leads into the assignment, don't just sit there and suffer in silence. You may not know all the answers to the questions, but just make sure you know how the teacher wants you to answer the questions. Ask for help from the teacher or ask other people around you kind of how they're going to approach the assignment, but make sure you understand what you are going to need to do to succeed on that assignment. Number two is to start right away. I don't have a cool song for the rest of these, sorry. This is the one that I often had the most trouble with in school because whenever it came to actually being in class, sometimes I was tired and I wanted to kind of slack off in class, or I wanted to talk to my friends while I was in class. But my suggestion is when you get an assignment in class, a lot of the times it's not necessarily meant to be homework if you are given time to do it in class. And so start right away. Doing as much work in class as you can will also help you get the help that you need from your peers or from the teacher when you need it. You may not be able to finish it right away, but if you start it right away, then it's not going to be so intimidating to go back and finish that assignment because you've already started. Number three is to manage your time wisely. This is much easier said than done, and we will probably have an entire video over time management just itself. But we've got a lot of things going on all at once, and it can start to feel like this. We've got schoolwork, we've got things going on at home, we've got extracurricular activities before and after school. We want to have time to be social. We might have a job. All of these things require that we are very intentional about how we use our time. When it comes to completing assignments, my suggestion has always been to keep a calendar so you know when things are due. I'll also mention that if your assignments are online on something like Google Classroom, then the due dates are built into a digital calendar. However you keep it, just make sure you know what day of the week and which week a certain assignment is going to be due. And then from the weekly calendar, you can boil down what you have to do into a to-do list. But a lot of managing our time has to do with managing when we do something or when we will have time to do something. And staying organized with a calendar or to-do list can really go a long way in helping you manage that time. Number four is to watch where you work. The environment in which you choose to do your assignments is very important to how successful and how quickly you can get those assignments done. This is admittedly why it's so hard sometimes to start work right away, because some classrooms can be very distracting and it can be difficult for us to focus. But the truth is that there are very few work environments that don't have certain distractions. And so working in class can be a practice for whenever you're in some sort of environment like this.
Johnson, I needed those papers yesterday. What happened to them?
Johnson, if I don't have those papers on my desk today, I'm going to stab you with this pen.
I think I might need to get a different job. But there can also be a lot of distractions with doing work at home as well. When you're home with your family and siblings and parents and neighbors and all sorts of other things that come along with being home, sometimes that can be a pretty distracting environment as well. And so finding a comfortable and peaceful place to work is super important to getting things done, not only getting them done quicker, but doing them well. Number five is to do the hardest assignments first. Well, as my grandpappy always said, he used to say, son, you got to do the worst first. Anytime that you have a set of jobs or a set of tasks or assignments that you have to do, it can be really easy for us to go for the easy ones first and get those knocked out of the way before you hit the big, longer projects or more difficult assignments. And that may work for some people. Maybe you need to ease into a work session, or maybe you're still trying to get help on those bigger, more difficult projects. And I understand that. But I have always found that if I'm sitting down to do work, if I choose to do the hardest thing on my list first, then the other things I have to do, the easier things I have to do, feel even more doable. The best analogy for this that I could think of was, the difference between climbing a mountain and a walk in the park. Obviously, the hike or the walk in the park is an easier activity than climbing up the side of a mountain. And so people might opt to do this first before going to do that, the harder assignment. My thoughts are, if you start with the mountain climbing when you have the most energy, whenever you're most motivated to do what you have to do, and you do that first, then the assignments that feel more like a walk in the park are a lot more peaceful and almost rewarding. If you've ever run for a long distance and then walked a little bit after that, you know how good it feels to exert your body really hard at first and then to cool down with a walk. My suspicion is that our brains work in a similar way. So try doing the hardest assignments first and feel the accomplishment that you get from doing those assignments, and then the rest of the assignments might feel like you're just coasting. Number 6 is get help when you need it. Again, you can't suffer in silence. You got to ask for help from your teacher when you need it. And you can also ask for help on an assignment from your peers, although I will say that is a little bit more risky in terms of plagiarism and cheating. When I say get help from your peers, I don't mean get answers from your peers. I mean it in more of a collaborative, how do we figure this out together kind of way. When you get help from friends, it's more of how do I do this process, or what did you think about this question, that sort of thing. But again, that is what we are here to do in education, is to learn. It shouldn't be embarrassing for us to reach out for help when we need it and to ask questions when we have them. And then the last step, it might be obvious, but you got to get it ready to turn in. If it's a physical piece of paper, make sure it's in your backpack and ready to turn in the day that it's due. So many times I've had students forget to turn things in even though they got it done on time. They just kept leaving it at home. Maybe you've been in that situation as well. If it's a digital assignment, like on Google Classroom or something, make sure that you click the submit button or have done whatever the teacher has asked you to do to turn it in. It's a simple step, but it's the last step, and it's one that you have to remember. But those are my tips on how to complete assignments. I want you to have the discussion on the next slide with your class. And I want you to think about moving forward, which one of those 7 steps you can improve in order to get better grades and to be less stressed during this quarter. Be good to yourself and others, and I'll see you real soon.